the World War II days, when FDR's limousine is converted from being a general, sort of strong, large convertible limousine to being actually a bulletproof car.
Following World War II, America's GIs returned home, and the country embraced a peaceful existence centered around enjoying the good life.
There was a kind of wonderful, wholesome innocence about the 50s. The kind of cars we built, and the kind of houses we built, and the lives we led, and the things we did for fun.
Americans enjoyed an economic boom and rallied around their president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and his new 1949 Lincoln Parade car.
Eisenhower wants to be seen fair weather or foul, so he has to have a plastic canopy put over him. And the whole purpose is, in bad weather, he has to be an enclosed car. He doesn't want that. He wants to be able to be seen still, to be able to be waving to people, because he feels the people are out there, they deserve to see him.
Ike so loved his bubble top that he put more than 100,000 miles on the car before it was retired.
But after Dallas in 1963, presidents didn't ride in open limousines anymore. That ended that day.
As the 1950s gave way to the 60s, America was looking for a president who could lead it headfirst into the new decade. President Eisenhower had served since 1953, and while still popular, could not run again. The country was hungry for a fresh new leader.
If we think about Eisenhower, and here was an old, shriveled president, and this was the era in which all Americans were getting televisions. So we're seeing this older man. He was having heart trouble while he was in office. There was also the Korean War. There was the fear over communism. The whole era was dominated by McCarthy and his hysteria.
But hope was on the way. A young Massachusetts senator forced America to cast its eye to the future. In doing so, John F. Kennedy and his wife Jackie captured our imagination.
All of a sudden, we elect the youngest president who was ever elected in United States history, with this beautiful, stylish wife. Nobody had ever seen anything like her before, always in the most fashionable clothes.
At the inauguration, here was Dwight Eisenhower, hero of World War II, in an overcoat, and Jack Kennedy was totally of another generation. You could see the transition of the older generation and the younger, just in the way these two men were dressed and in the way they regarded one another.
Kennedy's good looks and charm, combined with his chic, sophisticated wife, were an unbeatable team in the 1960 election.
The press covered the two of them like they were Camelot, as this was the ultimate political couple coming to Washington to charm everybody in Washington, which is what exactly he did.
We were in a state of sort of Kennedy mania in the United States. Young people particularly responded vigorously to him, and a lot of people got into politics because of him. A lot of people got into public service because of him. He was inspiring for a large chunk of the society at that time.
On January 20th, 1961, at the age of 43, John Fitzgerald Kennedy became the 35th President of the United States.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
In his inaugural address, he shared his vision for America.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
This transition from old to new would be complete when Kennedy retired Ike's bubble top and was presented with a stylish new limo that would fit his image like a glove.
That was a perfect car to be turned into a parade limousine.
The 1961 Lincoln Continental was an immediate sensation, a radical styling change from the 1950s tail-fin excesses to early 1960s cool and smooth, with fabulous styling that was backed up by a superb engine, unibody construction, and all-around engineering excellence. Ford would tear one car apart each week for inspection and offered one of the longest warranties in America, 2 years, not the customary 90 days.
The car won all kinds of design awards from independent organizations. So it was a completely fresh start for Ford, just as Kennedy was a completely fresh start.
These cars were probably the best looking luxury cars, certainly in America and maybe even in the world. The fact that you had a four-door hardtop and four-door convertible with suicide rear doors, I mean, this was really a classic design interpreted in a modern way. They were handsome cars.
Ford converted its stylish 1961 Lincoln into one of the world's most elegant cars.
That was a perfect car to be turned into a parade limousine. So a standard 1961 Lincoln convertible was taken off the assembly line, shipped to a company in Cincinnati named HESS and EISENHARDT, where it was turned into a stretch limousine.
The frame was cut in half and stretched 41 inches, and its wheelbase was increased by 33 inches. When completed, it was 21 feet long, and the X100's proportions were still perfect.
It was a feat to put it all together. The people at HESS and EISENHARDT jumped right in to make it as luxurious and comfortable as any presidential limousine or any limousine on the face of the earth.
HESS and EISENHARDT had converted stock factory automobiles into presidential limos since the days of Harry Truman. But this car was different and unique even to the company's craftsmen.
We learned about it about the time the car come in. It was hush-hush until it was decided to build it.
Just about everything on that car was handmade, and it was all special. The Lincoln was a lot more special than the other previous projects for past presidents.
The car that my dad built for President Kennedy was probably the most favorite car that he ever built. He was so proud of it. He always said that it was the most exotic, complicated, expensive, photographed car in the world.
First of all, the back seat reminded you of the living room of a luxury home. That's how good the couches were. The woodwork was beyond ornate in the vehicle.
The Continental was the first limousine equipped with separate heating and air conditioning systems for the front and rear compartments.
It's got jump seats. It even had little robes that you could put on your lap if you got cold.
I went over and sit in the car, and they had the lap pad and the presidential lap pad that was embroidered. It was gorgeous, and it was kind of exciting that I had sat in the car before anyone else, including the First Lady.
The communications in the car were fairly sophisticated. They had what were referred to at the time as radio telephones. It was what we think of as a cell phone, only technologically it functioned somewhat different. It was a very rare thing. Hardly anybody had a telephone in a car in 1961.
The passenger compartment's radio would only fit installed in an upside-down position, with the push buttons on top. A method was devised to reverse the circuitry, and the problem was solved.
The back seat could be elevated so that people could see the president more, all kinds of just really innovative features for the time.
This one-of-a-kind convertible was specifically designed with the Secret Service in mind. It came with footstands and detachable grip handles that could be fitted to the trunk.
The trunk lid on the Lincoln was very special, and it had a Continental kit on it.
The trunk housed all three tops. This allowed the limousine to change its profile at a moment's notice.
One point it's a formal limousine, another point it's a convertible, another point it's a landaulet with the back quarter off and the front part over the driver.